everybody, it is April the 25th, 2020, and oh my god, am I so excited about this. I am ecstatic. So here we are. It's us normal 3 technically PvP guys with 5 amazing high-ranked players from across the whole spectrum, EU, NA, here to talk about what we really are hoping that Shadowlands PvP will be like, and do kind of a summit, see what we think about things, see what we experienced already, and maybe what hopefully we can see coming up into the future. But first, before we get into this, let's actually let the players introduce themselves. So, Anboni, can you please start us off?
I don't know. There's like 2 Stoopzz. It's kind of weird, bro.
Yeah, people confuse us all the time.
I don't look anything like him, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but other people don't. Okay. Hi, what's up, you guys? I'm Anboni. I play a Shadow Priest, exclusively almost. Been playing Shadow Priest since the Burning Crusade. I skipped Cataclysm a little bit, but other than that, just been playing Shadow all the time. I mainly focus on Arena, just 3s. I like it a lot. I used to do a lot of casual PGs and stuff like that in the past, but just Arena all the time now. That's it.
Cool.
Bye. Next.
All right, Doomsen.
Yeah, hey guys, my name's Doomsen. I am from Germany. I have been playing World of Warcraft since the end of RAP, I would say. That's kind of when I got into it. I do play Restitute, and I have been focusing on PvP. I've also competed in PvE, but not gonna lie, PvP is it for me. So that's what I love. Yeah, that's what I love doing. That's what I want to do when I log on. And yeah, I think that's
nice. Like it. And moving on to our other resident druid in the house, Drownlord.
Did you call me a druid? No.
What?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Oh my god.
I'm the red paladin here.
Sorry. Wannabe druid. Sorry.
It's okay now. No problem. So
He probably wishes he had the mobility of a druid, I'll tell you that.
oh yeah, that would be fucking awesome. Okay.
Oh, the first one. We're not even like 3 minutes in.
It wasn't me. I'm good now.
We have to put a mature tab on this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The tip jar is a swear jar.
Okay, again, greetings from Germany. I'm Drownlord, the red paladin here. I'm playing since 2005, only doing PvP with my red paladin. Doing some 2s and 3s, but mostly battlegrounds. So I'm more the casual player here, I think. But okay, I've done 18,000 battlegrounds, so I'm not that casual.
Actual PG hero.
Casually.
Definitely.
There we go.
All right, just quick question. With that many battlegrounds, what's your honor level at then? Because that must be like in the hundreds.
Yeah, 353.
Holy moly.
Question is, does anyone know their honor level? Top of their heads?
I prepared my honor level for this conversation. I do know what it is now, but I did not know what it was.
Yeah, me and Stoopzz always have this conversation.
I just checked this morning to make sure that I knew. So.
That's hilarious.
I'll get to it later, I guess.
So since we already talked to the EU Stoopzz, can we talk to the NA Stoopzz?
Nah.
Oh, please not.
Don't put me and him in the same category. I'm kidding. I love Bonnie. My name is Stoopzz. I've been playing since vanilla, off and on, and I've always focused on PvP. A little bit of PvE, but mostly PvP. And my content basically revolves around like trying to help people get their foot in the door when it comes to PvP, so it's not as just confusing as it looks. So that's mainly what I focus on now and what I've been enjoying. So yeah.
Nice. Welcome to the show. And last but not least, Aiden.
Hi, my name is Aiden. I mostly play PvP Arena. I have been playing since Mr. Pandarian. And yeah, achieving like multiple titles as Gladiator in round 1. And yeah.
and you do a little professional competition, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have been playing like on my region. We have won every tournament we have played. And I have competed on 3 BlizzCons.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of experience under your belt, nothing too extreme.
Yes, a little bit, yes.
This is gonna be awesome. I am so excited to have you guys here. So obviously, I think quickly, obviously we have Andelin, myself, and Winstead here as well. But let's get into the talk here. The whole idea behind this is us as players talking about what we've experienced and where we want PvP to go.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess first and foremost, is there anything that anybody has a burning topic that they want to talk about? What's something that you found has just graded you for the last 2 years, 3 years, and you really want to see coming back into Shadowlands?
I have one, but if anyone wants to go first, I have a big one. Yeah, a big one. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
But you know, Stoopzz, you talked first, so bring it up.
Yeah. For me, I think, and I'm sure we'll get to it later, just based on what I kind of read through the schedule. But just one topic that I do want to talk about is just the overall incentivization behind all forms of PvP. I mean, all I really do is arena. Like, that's just mainly what I do. But one of the problems I really feel with arena right now is that there's just a huge barrier to entry, and whether it just be like knowledge of the game, or also just the fact of like you have to queue up with somebody, right? So if you're doing arena, you have to find partners, and I know a lot of people can't. Now, I'm not pitching solo queue or solo queue arenas. I mean, I would love that, but I think that more importantly, you know, I think that there needs to be incentivization behind all forms of PvP, and I can get to a little bit later, but you know, in the past, we did things like battlegrounds to maybe get a starting set of gear. In Legion, you did it to unlock your PvP talents. So there was like a need for battlegrounds. But as a BFA, you really get the worst possible gear from it. There really is no like reward from doing any form of battlegrounds. And then they did implement CTA or call to arms, but it's just such a massive pillar of WoW. And PvP isn't just arena. And I think, and again, all I do is arena. But I think for players to get into arena, they need to experience other forms of PvP, not the only end-all be-all be arena. And you have to find people to play with that might leave after one game, right? In a battleground, you can just queue up. In world PvP, you can just go out there in the world and like find players so that you can do it on your own or by yourself. So they need to really focus and incentivize those areas further than what they have or what they've done. So that's something that I want to talk about later. I know based on your schedule, we'll get to it in a little bit. So that's just one thing that really has been on my mind and something I've been thinking about.
I need to write something down because I think I have a good add to that.
All right.
That topic.
Yeah, I have a little paper prepared, so when we get down there, I'll pitch it when we get. I'll pitch it when we get down there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good.
This is now the PvP symposium. Yes.
Yes. It's kind of the idea. It's kind of what it's supposed to be.
Very highbrow here.
Yes.
I mean, there are other things that obviously, you know, when it comes to arena balancing, whatever, like for arena, like that's mainly what I do. But I know that it's not just about that for all players. You know, when I post a video in my comments, people will be like, "What about BGs? What about BGs?" And I'm like, "Dude, I never queue BGs ever. I never do them." But it's not just about what I would like. It's about like the general basis of players and getting them into arena with the starting step of world PvP or battlegrounds. You know, I think that's the transition point.
I like it.
Anboni, you had a topic burning in your soul that you would like to leech out as a shadow priest, I imagine. Lots of tentacles here.
I mean, I don't want to like complain about my class already. I'll save that for later. The first thing that came to mind.
Wait, was it class based?
No. The first thing that came to mind when you asked.
It is when you're a shadow priest.
Yeah.
Just RNG gearing is a big problem for PP right now.
Here we go.
If you guys remember, in Legion is when they implemented this RNG gearing from, you know, you get a random piece at the end of the dungeon, at the end of the whatever. But in Legion, gear didn't matter; it was just item level. But then in BFA, they kept the RNG gearing, but gear matters a lot now.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind when you asked.
All right.
I don't have a big speech like Stoopzz.
Yo, don't say that. It's messed up. Throw me under the bus.
No, it's like putting you on the bus.
Yeah, it's a nice bus.
Putting me on the bus.
Why does that have to be a short bus? Aiden, did you have something? I think you had something you want to say.
No, I just want to say like, I agree with that. Like, RNG has been like here for a while. I think it has to go. And we didn't notice on Legion because templates were like on Arena, but it was like, I don't know, the same gearing system is kind of added already tried 2 expansions. I think Benders needs to come back.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well,
they are coming
and
back, right?
They are coming back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shadowlands
Thank-
bringing back vendors.
Hallelujah.
finally.
Yes.
Hey.
All right. What about? So here's one I'm wondering about is the great unpruning. So there's that the huge amount of pruning. They took away a whole bunch of our abilities, which took away a lot of niche play that people were able to come up with. Such as like a quick dot that you're able to break out of a sheep if you saw it coming, right? Stuff like that. You don't really see that coming up anymore. What do you guys think about the great unpruning that is supposedly promised by the mighty Holinka?
Glory be unto him.
I have a take, I guess. If anyone wants to go first, I have a take
No.
though.
It's first come, first serve right now.
All right, I mean, dude, you can't let me do that because I'll just go all day. So you need to be careful with that.
Okay.
I would say, in my opinion, I do want abilities to come back, and I
Yep.
don't think the game should be based around like a viewer perspective, because the more abilities we have, if you're looking at it from any competitive or esports standpoint, it's bad because there's just too many abilities, right? So if you want, that's the problem with WoW, is that you're trying to figure out how you make it an esport. They're trying to, which maybe it does work, maybe it doesn't work. But if you're basing it around that, less abilities is better, right? It's just too many abilities. But what I want to see, but if you're trying to create fun and class identity and just like
Nuance.
class diversity,
Yeah.
you want more abilities. But the problem is that we don't, in my opinion, we don't need a bunch of abilities that don't do anything. They need to be careful about what abilities they bring back into the game. If you look at Frostbolt on the alpha, it does no damage. And if you're playing Arcane, you will never press that. If you're an Arcane mage, it does no damage. It's a 1.8 second cast.
Yeah.
So if you get locked in on something else, you can just spam slow as an Arcane mage. So when would you use that? Maybe if you're fire, you might press it, but it's just such a slow cast. It needs to have value behind it, right?
Yeah.
You would just spec into Blast Wave, maybe since Shimmer is gone and you can't blink sheep and stuff like that. So the whole point is the abilities that they bring back need to be like fundamentally useful. Like there's something that you would press. I don't want to see them like, oh, we just gave you a bunch of like things that you're never going to use again, but now we, and then some people will be excited about that, and then Blizzard will get the idea like, oh, this is good. Like people are like, oh, we're getting all these abilities back, but they have to be ones that you would actually press, something that's worth throwing into your rotation. So
especially with the GCD, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you have a choice between.
That's a good point. Yeah.
With what spell you're going to use and the limited amount of time that you have to react to your opponent, you want those spells to be impactful. You want that when you push that button for it to be meaningful to your play style, to your class, to your spec, and to the content that you're playing.
Yeah,
indeed.
So
I agree. The Frostbolt on the other mages,
Okay.
It's something, but it's something, but it's just like we need to figure out the abilities that we want to come back, and then or why add the clutter, and if you play classic, I played classic. There's just so many things I would never press. Why do I even have this on my character? It's too much. So I'm okay with having less abilities if all the abilities I press are impactful.
Yeah, I'd rather have 4 buttons that I know I'm going to push instead of having to put like 6 buttons into one macro and just push the one button and cycle that too. Doom.
Well, I wanted to grab Aiden here because he's actually been on that very high competitive level. I mean, what is your feeling on Stoopzz brought up the fact that they're trying to make this MMO into a e-sport. You've been on the e-sport side. What do you feel about where Stoopzz is presenting that, do you want your buttons to be impactful, or are you happy about the unpruning?
Well, I'm happy with the unpruning, but I agree with him. You cannot bring a lot of spells or put new spells that are not use mechanics. It's like for Rogue, they bring back slice and dice. If you see an arena, you don't know if the rogue has a slice and dice, so you're not gonna track slice and dice on the viewer. The viewer, it won't track it, because it's not that impactful. But you're gonna track a smoke bomb, Shari Duel, Vendetta, big cooldowns. That's the things you're gonna track. So it's good. They bringing stuff back, making but yeah, they need to add either one spell or bring back one impactful spell into that, so he has you have more buttons, but buttons that matter.
Right.
I like it. I think Doom, you said
on
that you said
PlayStation
something you
Play.
want. Yeah.
I fully agree with the point. The abilities that should be added should be, nothing you press like once every 10 minutes,
Hmm.
obviously. But I feel like I just want to have the option to press more buttons, right? Like what I always found very interesting, especially on Druid, is that I have so many different buttons, right? Like Druid has so many different forms, so many different abilities that I can press. And I liked having that variety that also made a difference between me and like another player, like another Druid, by just, what kind of rotation do I do? And basing like the way I press the keybinds
Having
to
a choice.
matter, to make a difference to make a difference in the game, to be having a different outcome than the other way. And I think that's also a point not just affecting PvP, but also PvE.
Oh,
Because
totally.
you have, like, I think generally, let's look at Assassination Rogue, like the rotation, I would say, is fairly simple in general. Even PvP, you have the guards, you keep your bleeds up or whatever. But it's kind of scripted, like really scripted. And I think having these key abilities that have an impact on the DPS, on whatever, is really important to be added. That's for sure.
I like it. I'm just curious, Drown, because you play Ret Pally. How do you feel about the toolkit you had versus the toolkit you have now, and where Pallies could be in Shadowlands?
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of Waltz of Trainer. We had a really cool toolkit. It
Yeah.
reminds me of Emperor Seals. It was pretty cool. Good question. No,
Sorry, you weren't prepared for that.
no, I really wasn't.
I pulled an Illidan on you. I guess. What about for auras though? Because I think you mentioned earlier that you were really looking forward to some changes in the auras.
I'm more about in changes for not for auras, but for seals.
Oh, for seals. My apologies.
I mean auras. The thing is, if you have a permanent aura, you have to this aura have to be kind of weak, because if it's permanent, and if it's permanent, it cannot be strong. Same goes for seals, but if you have impulse seals, you have a way better toolkit to use it.
I think it really does just come down to the fact that we want our buttons to mean something. I
Yeah,
think that's pretty much
definitely.
everybody's getting on board on.
It's like dead talents. I mean, I have consecration, but it has no use for PvP. No, just if you're in Alterac Valley and you have a real big Zerg, it may be cool, but yeah, that's only cool, but it's not really doing something. It doesn't do many damage, and if you do arenas, it has no use. It's a dead talent.
I feel like that's also a big part of it. Like we're asking for more abilities back, but part of it is because the ones that you already have, like you have so many talent choices that you're just never gonna take. Now, obviously, some of them are designed for like PvP, and some of them might be designed for PvE. But literally, all of them, like there's so many that are just not good in either situation. So I think that's even more important. Like before, I just want them. I would like personally them to focus on the things that we do have and fix those things first. Like I think every talent should be useful in a certain scenario. One should fill a gap in what you lack versus a certain matchup or in a certain area in PvE. But adding new abilities when some of the ones that we do, there's so many talents that I just never am going to take. It's just bad.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I think that they need to like revamp the stuff that we do have, focus on the stuff that we do have. I'm a big believer in fixing what we already have before adding anything new or returning stuff, because there's just so much stuff that needs work. And it's not like a slight on them. It's just really hard to balance all of that. So
it almost kind of becomes like a band-aid solution, in essence.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they're not treating like that. The part of me wants to believe that they're not, but at the same time, I agree with you. Like, there's way too many classes that are so talent locked. Like, so for instance, I've been playing a lot of Fire Mage lately. The level 90 row of talents where you can take Flame Patch, Conflagrate, or like or Living Bomb, it's trash.
Yeah.
It's trash.
Yeah, that's been bad for a long time.
It doesn't matter what I take, no matter what I'm playing. Like, it makes no bearing. It will never make any bearing. It's a waste of a row of talents. You know?
Yeah, yeah. But you're getting Frostbolt, you know, so it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Good thing, right?
And we've done a bunch of class deep dives, and almost every spec that we've gone into, there's at best maybe 2 talents that you might shift, but otherwise it seems everybody just sticks with a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's always going to be a meta of talents that are really good, and you know, but if you make diverse options for every scenario, I know that's another. It's just really hard. Like whenever I say any of this kind of stuff, it's not like a slight on Blizzard. You have to remember there's so many classes they have to manage, both for like PvE and PvP, AoE situations, non-AoE situations. So it's hard to do it around both. And that's why I honestly liked your separate PvP tab even better than what we have now, because at least you had, you know, you could have talents that would impact your PvP.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. But Blizzard has the technology to adjust talents or abilities for PvP and PvE, and it's, as far as I can remember, Holinka said it's literally just number changing in Legion.
Well, and that's where I want to jump in a little bit more here, because I think a lot of it is customization of your stat templates. You know, depending on the gear that you have really determines a lot of like what your playstyle is going to be. We just barely talked to Maldiva about Warlocks, and he's running a really high haste build. You know, a 50% haste, and he's throwing off Chaos Bolts really, really quickly. You know, and it's it's one of those things where I think what we've been lacking a lot of is customization of our own templates, of our ability to gear ourselves out. And the gearing system right now is just terrible for PvP. And so it's really hard to like get the right piece of gear with the right piece of corruption, with the right Azerite traits to make everything work well for you, that you can then pursue your play style. And I think if that was a little bit easier, and thankfully we're getting our PvP vendors back, and that's a step in the right direction.
Definitely, but only a step.
Yeah. You know, and I'm wondering, do we want Blizzard to push more towards, I don't know, I've had this idea of a customizable stat template for your character, that you decide what your template is, versus do we want it to just be, this is the gear that they present to us, and that's what we have to run with?
I feel like I feel there's a lot of people that when I'll talk about this, or maybe I'll make a video, whatever, someone will say like, oh, I miss when there was just like gear didn't matter, or you just get what you know, like it's just locked in. Some people like the customization of it. I feel like at the end of the day, like having, for me, an MMO is like you do get to it adds an extra layer of customization, and in every game you have that kind of option where you can change your toolkit. If you're playing League, you can kind of change your runes to change the way that you play. So I think you should have some customization. I think it should be there. I think just the main issue is like, as long as that customization isn't locked behind layers of RNG. You know, I think that's what anyone asks for, right? Like they just want to know, all right, like even if it takes me 2 weeks to, like, I know I'm going to earn this item, that's fine. But with Maldiva having 50% haste because he has all these haste corruptions, like, what if I play just as much as him and I don't get those? You know? And that makes him just, you know, whipping out Chaos Bolts at 0.8 second casts, and you can't even kick those, you know? So I just think that the customization's fine. I think it adds an extra layer of spice to the game for players. Like they get to actually change up builds. It's fun for creativity. My friend Bonnie, he loves to try out new builds all the time, and that's one thing that I do like about BFA.
Yep, that's fun.
Yeah.
One thing about BFA is
Science.
that you get to try so much stuff, you know, high haste builds, high verse builds. You get to try all these cool trinkets. Like it's actually fun. I don't mind, you know, but yeah.
You know what I try? I always get disappointed, and I get the worst corruption, the one I don't want. I get Mastery on my Priest. So I'm forced into Science. Like, okay, maybe I can make all this corrupted gear work. It never works.
I really enjoyed where Legion PvP was at, but admittedly, and people may get mad at me for saying this, not y'all are great, but like other people, you know, who are not so great. My big, like, I think that the state of PvP would be actually really good if in your weekly chests they gave you a choice of 3 options. Like, even if it was still RNG, and you had 3 options and you got to choose one. Kind of like how they have, like, for Torghast now, where they're letting you choose an ability through as you progress through the floors.
Yeah.
I think I would just like that so much better because what it allows you to do, like, okay, I don't have to take this Void Ritual again. I can now maybe go for, well, I did get a Tentacles, but I also got a Mastery one.
Tentacle.
I kind of want the Masterful one, you know?
That's what they're suggesting in Shadowlands, though, right? Like you're gonna have your weekly box will have an option of 6.
Okay. Oh, are they really?
Yeah, that's what's gonna be there. Is that you'll still have your vendors, but at the end of the week you could do PvP or PvE if you do a mix, whatever, and then you have about 6 options. They'll say where you can choose an item.
That's good.
Which is a good way of RNG, right? Like
exactly.
You know, it's kind of like when you're going into like a casino and you put a quarter in. And it's fun RNG. You might hit the lotto, you might not, but it's just a quarter. You're not like investing a lot. The way it is right now, it's like you're going into a casino and you're putting your paycheck on the line.
Yeah.
And you need to win this, otherwise, you know, you're not paying rent this month. That's what it feels like.
We're just trying to play penny slots, man.
Yeah, just you know, it should be like doesn't cost you much. It's a cherry on top.
Yeah.
Not like you sit there. I do rituals before I open up my chest. Dude. You know. Me and Bonnie I spit on the box, I dance with the box, I pet the box, I like use all my cooldowns, I like take a deep breath. I can't sleep the morning of when I open my chest. You know, I wake up at like 5 a.m. Okay, it's time to open my loot, just to be disappointed again. The game loves to do the same corruption back to back. By the way, I know it's 2 avoidance. Dude, I do everything, bro. I'm just dancing in front of the damn thing, just summoning, you know, like getting like some summoning ritual.
Can you make a
I've
video
tried
of
everything.
that?
Yeah,
I recorded it actually. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I didn't see. I didn't hear you say anything about any chickens being sacrificed or anything either.
No, I mean I've done everything. I just try to keep it PG.
Yeah. It's like when you're doing your visions and you loot the chest with the at the end. You know.
Yeah, you go in the order like a little pattern. Try left, right, middle. Yeah.
This. I have one question for y'all. This whole corruption mechanic experience that we've had at this tail end of BFA. Round table, quick. Do you guys want to see it or not? Do you want to see it die at the end of this expansion, or do you want to see some form of it in Shadowlands?
I think it was fine in the beginning because it was more damage in arena, and before that it was like all about dampening, and I like more fast-paced arena. And I think but at the end now it's like everyone's playing versatility stack, and they are super tanky, so it's like I don't know. No, I don't like it anymore.
It's just like obviously right now the system is right where we were. Like it's 2 RNG, right? Like for example, I got my first Infinite Stars 2 weeks ago. Like yay. You know, it was left already.
Viable.
But I like having something extra. Like something extra that I can enhance or customize my character. But then we come again to the point of how RNG is it? Like if I have the option to choose again between like 6 options or anything to also be able to build. Yeah.
What if you could buy the corruption, but instead of being 50k damage star, it would be like 1% haste?
That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Remember like when we had the item enchants and then they're gone? And now we only have weapon and ring enchants and that's it.
Yes, that's not a bad idea, but that's also kind of the
that's
reason
like
why...
an extra layer, like that's not gonna do much.
Yeah. It's okay. No?
Yeah, I would like to have it.
I'd like to see that too.
Part of the problem I think with all this corruption is accessibility. You know, it's not that. I mean, it's been funny to watch these arena tournaments where stars goes off and then the what is that from the beyond. You know, it's hilarious to watch. It's fun. It's entertaining, but you either have it or you don't. And there isn't a good, consistent way for people who don't have the time to put into the game. I'm married, I'm running a business, and I have 2 kids. I can't sit down and play for 6 hours and hope that I get these things to trigger for me. And so, like Anboni was saying, with just, hey, if there's a place that I can go to buy them or have that, just have access to those things, it would be a huge improvement.
It's just the thing is they're all like they're not done well. Like they're not done well. Like in this again, whenever I'm not trying to they're all passives. Like you could just do nothing and do top damage. You know, they should be like if you land 3 frost bolts in a row, then you get something like to alter your play style. They shouldn't just be something where like, because this is the difference. Whether you have good RNG or not, you know, I can do like viewer games trying to help people get some achievements, and there's a rogue who does the same damage as the rogue I'm playing with, right? But his top damage by a mile is gushing wounds, so he doesn't have to press his buttons at all. He doesn't have to manage bleeds. He's just auto attacking and proccing this thing. So if you want to, first of all, I don't think they should do it, because the game should just be the game. Like, just, you know, why even add any effort to that? Put the effort elsewhere. You know, because the effort goes somewhere, right? It is man hours. So you're creating these systems, these corruptions. Just please put that into, you know, creating more skins and mounts and illusions behind other content, so people want to do that.
Tabards.
Yeah, please don't get me started on the tabards.
You must.
Bro, I mean, I promise you I will get to it. Okay, I have my, when we get to the section, I will bring it up. I'm following this down. I will get to the tabards. Trust me, because
I'm excited now.
Messed up stuff. I'm trying not to swear here. But my whole point is like, if, first of all, if you want to do corruptions, make them somewhat skill based, rotation based, like alter gameplay based, not just like I AFK and I have gushing wounds. There's a guy on EU named Gushing Cutie. Dude has 6 gushing wounds. 6 gushing wounds. 6.
Wow.
I mean, and so the guy's never done any PvP. It's not a slight on him, but he's 2402, so he can literally auto attack a healer to death. You know, that's how crazy it is to have 6 of those things. So it's just like, that stuff shouldn't be there. You know, it should be gameplay based, but let's remove
his corruption level though? He must be running like 700 corruption or something.
Well,
gushing
wounds.
It's 15 for
gushing wounds is the most efficient corruption there is.
Yeah.
No way.
And the crazy part about it is people say it's the rarest corruption. It is the rarest corruption because it's only 1 rank. You're only, so like to hit 6 of those, you know, it's this. And for me, it was crazy. I'll end on this. I hit like 3 avoidances back to back to back. The worst corruption in the game. I don't know who wants avoidance. Yeah. It's the worst. That's the same odds as hitting 3 gushings in a row. You know,
Unlucky.
it's almost so lucky it's unlucky. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or unlucky lucky. Yeah.
One quick question before we move on. Just talking again about unpruning. I just want to roll this back for a second. What do you guys think about maintaining the 50% reduction of critical strike in arenas? Keep it or revert that?
I think it should stay. Like, I don't know why it should, like, crit
Fine.
again is
Think
an
it's
RNG
fine.
factor, right?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it's fine.
Yes.
And I don't think you should add more RNG to it, because then you again have the situation, you know, this guy just won because he crit 3 times in a row and it turned out to be this massive number, you know? So I think
Yes.
having it reduced just reduces the amount of RNG of you losing a game because of bullshit, you know? So, you know, I just,
Well played.
you know, I wouldn't increase it. Maybe change it, and if somebody has a good idea, you know, but I would not increase it.
I mean, you could remove it, but if you remove it, you should increase the amount for 1% of crit by a huge amount. It must be an extremely expensive stat.
Yeah.
So people cannot stake it that high.
So
Yes.
you're saying large diminishing rewards on it, like, or diminishing returns on it? Meaning like for each additional point of crit, you exponentially get way more and more and more less effectiveness out of it?
Yeah, that'd be also okay. I mean,
Okay.
for example, if you take versatility, actually, versatility costs about 95, and crit should be about 200, for example.
Okay. So 900 points or 200 points before you get 1%.
Correct.
Okay. Although actually, I like your idea there, Andelin, of making it like making it exponential. So like your first percent is like 20, your second percent is 40, your third percent is 60, and then just keep going from there.
Right, because you get you essentially DRs. Yeah.
Exactly.
Would be also
Well, I
okay.
mean, we're talking a lot about the random passive stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering about if we take away too much of the randomness, do we fall into the trap of now that this is just a pure math game of, oh, I'm facing X class with X stats, I cannot win?
I think it's fine. You know, like I think a little bit of randomness is fine. You know, at the end of the day, like it's supposed to be fun, and fun should come first. And like whenever you have these conversations, it's really important to remember, like, you have to not. It can't be too competitive. You know, like it can't be just. It's not what the game is designed around. You know, unfortunately, right? If there was a separate WoW arena game, which would be great, you know, but I think at the end of the day, like it's got to be fun for everybody. So I think everything has to have a little bit of randomness. I think corruption is fun. Like I've been having fun with it, but yeah, now on my, you know, on some of my characters, like, all right, how much verse percentage can I get? You know, so it's just I think
Well, and this
just the way it is good now. Just too much crit would be a little, you know.
Well, and this is where I wonder how balanced do we want the game to be? You know, how balanced do we want? Do we want a class to be able to beat everything and everything else to be able to beat that class? I mean, or should there be that mages have generally been weaker to rogues? Rogues are generally weaker to warriors. Warriors are generally weaker to mages. You know, do we want
Counter classes.
Yeah, the rock paper
yeah,
scissors.
do we want
Yeah.
the,
Yeah,
do we want the counter class? Do we want that balance of, you know, just the math game?
I think
to
it's
a
part of
certain
the
extent. Yeah, I think it's fine to have counterclass to a certain extent, but
Yes.
in some situations it becomes a little too much. Like if you think World PvP Demon Hunter versus I don't know, maybe a Shadow Priest, for instance, of equal gear. You know, so
Bye.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's always going to be you know, every
But,
game you play, you counter champ, you counter lock in something when someone plays something. Now you can choose to counter it, you know, and that's why WoW feels bad, I think, because you don't know what you're going into, so you just get into a game and like, oh, well, this is, you know, that's why I think it feels worse than other games, because there's no choice in that, you know, and you can't really fix that. I don't think. I'm not sure it's a problem, but I'm just saying that's the example of why it would feel bad, because you can, in other games, you can counter lock in maybe an Overwatch or League. You see them playing this, I'm gonna pick this, right?
Yep.
You don't get that opportunity in WoW. You're queuing into, let's say you're playing like Rep Pally Warrior or something with like, you know, Mistweaver, and you queue into like MLD, you're probably like, well, this is gonna suck, you know. So it's just how the game feels sometimes. But I think counter picking is fine. I think the issue is when
I think
something
that's
doesn't have a counter. Like Warlocks have somewhat of a counter right now, but they are definitely the most like egregious class.
Yeah.
They're just outrageous, you know. So that's when I think it becomes like, okay, well, what counters this? Somebody needs to counter this, you know.
Yeah. I was just imagining there, I was thinking, you know, you made the Overwatch reference, and I was like, what if you could go back in the starting room in WoW Arena and change your talents?
Yeah.
That gotta be
you
WoW.
see what you're fighting, and you can change your talents then, right?
Yeah, right.
That's why it's important to have. That's why it's important to have meaningful and impactful talents that help you fill the gaps versus the class that counters you.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just, once again, it's just super hard to balance it, and you only get so many talents. You know what I mean? So like, how do you fit in PvE and PvP in one row? That's why having a separate PvP with more than just 3 is I think was a good choice. You know, not having just these 3 talents where some of them are so good that they should be baseline because you always lock them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, why isn't Smoke Bomb baseline? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that's an example.
I think it
You
should
always take it. You know, so
Yeah.
why would you never take that? It's just an
Exactly.
example of one.
Or like
Like
Controlled Burn
Clone.
from Fire Mage, yeah.
Cyclone. Well, Cyclone is going to be baseline
Cyclone.
now. It's going to be baseline in Shadowlands, right? So that's a good
Yeah.
change, but they should be more like that. Those are the abilities that we should get back. You know, those are the ones that, like, you know, not like just useless ones that we lock in every time. Just give it to us baseline. Grounding, give it to us baseline. Stuff like that.
Disarm for warriors and spell reflect for warriors.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good
should be
example.
baselines.
Yeah, that's a
Exactly.
good example.
Well, I mean, along with the abilities and the balance and everything else, I mean, one thing that really affects the arena match right now is the GCD. You know, so how should we peel back a lot of the GCD changes and make it so that your abilities are more I know for me, there's a lot of times, because I'm not exactly the greatest PvP player these days, where in WoD, in Legion, I would just hit all the defensives at once and they would all come up for me. Now that's not the case. I can't just have that emergency button where I hit spam the abilities. I'm much more locked in, and there's times now where I'm using offensive abilities, and because I've used that offensive ability, I am now unable to use my defensive ability, and I die.
Yeah.
And that
I can
doesn't
agree with
feel
that.
good. I mean, so what would we like to see with GCD that would make the game better, so that we don't have these one-shot kill macros, but at the same time that we're not so tied that we, you know, can't respond to what's happening in the game?
Like, wait, do we still want to have a Swifty one shot?
I personally don't like the Swifty one shot. I don't necessarily like that playstyle where it's like I keybind my trinkets, all of my offensive abilities to one button, and then I go.
You could limit it.
Yeah, no, in my mind, I have two hands, okay? Two hands. I can do something offensive, and I can do something defensive at the same time, right? So if the GCD change went to the fact that I could use a buff, an offensive ability at the same time, a defensive ability, a defensive buff at the same time, then I'm good. But I couldn't do, like, 3 defensive abilities.
When they did comment on it, they asked for specific examples, so they don't want to hear just revert them. I think they want specific examples. That's what I'd heard they say. So a specific example for one is like, I'll give you one for Mistweaver, and I'll give you an example of where I think it's actually pretty decent. So for Mistweaver, you have Manatee, which is just, and then Crane. Right now, you rarely play Crane in PvP anymore. Like, you might just lock it in because you're getting Conflict and Strife, but you just whatever. But if you were to Manatee, it's on a crazy G. So to do the wind up, it's like Manatee. You might Tiger Palm 3 times, Manatee, Crane. You might do this in PvE or something as well. So those shouldn't be on GCD because I'm like, it's taking me so long to get to what I want to actually do. Right? Yeah. That is punishing. Let's say I actually need a Crane for some healing, and I need to man it. Let's say I get locked out as a Mistweaver, right? And I want to Crane just to get 1 second of healing to maybe keep my teammate alive, or maybe it's in a Mythic Plus and he takes some affix damage. I want a Manatee and then Crane, but the GCD on the Manatee into Crane is so clunky, and you might just have to press Crane. So you're punished, and you spend 25% of your mana. You know what I mean? Yep. To do that. A good example of where I think GCDs are fine is Bubble. Okay, so Bubble for me, that feels like decision making. Sometimes you'll get punished by trying to be too greedy and not press Bubble because it's on GCD, so you have to wait to press Bubble, right? You can't just do something and bubble at 1%, right? You have to decide. And I don't like the fact that you could just like play super greedy and then bubble. If someone's committing cooldowns and you can barely squeeze it out, you have to decide. That feels like to me a little bit of decision making, which is what they had hinted at. They want decision making and skill. I don't think all GCDs provide decision making and skill, and they said that they don't want the game to be reaction based, but I want the game to be not clunky in some ways. So I think people should provide specific class examples of why it's bad for their class and offer that to them, and then maybe they'll revert those. But some of them I think are like not even noticeable for me. I don't know about you guys, but for me they're not noticeable, or I think that they're decent in some ways.
Okay. Well, let's take a quick look at that. So you gave a good example there with Mistweaver's Knot. What about Aiden? Is there anything that you find over on the rogue side where something's on GCD that it just feels clunky with how you go through your rotation?
Not really, because like Shadowlands is off global, so you can dance cheap shot at the same time. Symbols like cloak and evasion are off global. I think at least for rogue it's fine. The globals, I think I don't find them like disturbing.
Fair enough. What about you, Drone? As a ret, is there any clunkiness there between GCDs?
Yeah, it's mostly because of the bubble, but I think it feels a bit clunky, but I think it's okay because like Stoopzz said, it's the reason behind it. And yeah, I think it should stay. Maybe on some abilities you could remove it, but mostly I think it's okay.
Okay.
I mean, it separates a good player from a bad player, you can say, to see if a player has more experience than another one.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Anboni.
Yeah.
Shadow Priest. Do you guys have any clunkiness?
I mean the whole class, but talking about GCD. I know for Disc, Stoopzz example was really good, and Disc has something almost the same. It's Rapture with Shield. When your teammate's dying, you want to Rapture Shield. If you don't Rapture Shield, your shield does nothing, just applies atonement. But if you Rapture and then Shield, then it might be too late. Rapture feels really bad on GCD.
Yeah.
And the same with the wings thing. And for Shadow, I mean, not really. I know Dispersion would be nice to be of GCD, but it never was, so I'm not gonna go there. With Dispersion, I think it's like Stoop said. It should be you should make the decision, like see the damage coming and decide not to press VT, get caked and then die.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Shadow it's fine. The only thing that went on GCT for Shadow was the Vampiric Embrace, which is not a big deal. Barely does anything anyway.
All right.
But
I feel like they've done a good job, like they've reverted a lot of the ones that feel clunky, and it's just a few that are left.
Yeah.
And that's where players should provide feedback instead of just giving them the feedback of, please revert these changes. Like, well, what do you want reverted?
Well, that's why I'm kind of asking these questions. Like,
Yeah,
on
let's see if we come up with some here. Or if there's nothing to be done, then there's nothing to be done, and that's fine. But
Well, I think
that's a good question.
I think one thing that we're hitting on here is that there are spells that modify other spells, and it seems like that's where the clunkiness really falls into place. Casting Rapture so that you empower
doesn't do
this
anything.
spell.
Yeah.
Because that should be separated. If I'm using there's a warrior ability that grants you
Sharpen.
Yep.
It eats into the time of your ability to use that ability.
Yes.
Yeah.
You cast Sharpen Blade, and then you have to wait the second and a half before you can even start using Sharpen Blade.
Yeah.
And so I think spells,
but they didn't change how long it lasted either.
Yeah, no, and that's where it's like spells like that where I'm using this spell to make this spell better.
Yeah, modifiers.
Feels bad.
Yeah.
And so all spell modifiers should probably be looked at and pulled off of that GCD. Now, should I be able to hit 5 spell modifiers all at the same time? Probably not. That does make it so that I just go with that one-shot macro. But if I do have the ability that, these spells are
are being targeted so often because when you go on them and they don't really have anything, then they can just flop. And same for Pally, like Holy Pally, with the Avenger's Wrap, correct? That's the wings.
Yeah.
You come out of a CC, you press your wings, and your teammate is dying, but you still have to press the wings because if you don't and you just do that normal Holy Shock, it just might not be enough. You still get. Like, it all gets messed up due to the global you have.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's really about decision making. Like, you could have pressed
you have to
anyway.
press right.
Yeah.
Because you put your Holy Shock in a 6-second cooldown if you don't. And you're still gonna, there's like no good answer to that. And that's when I play my Holy Pally, that's the situation I found myself on quite often. And I'm like, well, I just need to do it. I just need to hope my teammate lives for that time being.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if this applies to.
Go for it.
I don't know if this applies to healers necessarily, but if cooldowns weren't that, cooldowns are huge right now, right? As a mage, for instance, you don't really kill anything unless you pop cooldowns. A lot of classes are like that. So if cooldowns weren't, if it wasn't either you're dead or 100% HP, then maybe putting everything back on off GCD wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, if your whole game didn't revolve around modifiers in the first place.
If your Frostbolt, for instance, did damage, or your Mortal Strike did normal damage, or
your wings wasn't just
or your or your wings weren't the one shot.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like your Holy Paladin wings, right? He's giving the example.
Oh, Holy Paladin. Okay, yeah.
He comes out and he needs to get that, hopefully that obviously the Holy Shot crits, but hopefully it's gonna do enough to keep him alive. If you weren't revolving around that, it's just like when I have wings up, nobody dies. When I don't have wings up, it's time to press all my other CDs. So yeah, good example.
Yeah, I think that's why Holy Pally is a good example because the Holy Pally is like the closest to DPS, right? Because like most of the healers don't have those major cooldowns. Like sure, we have Cocoon, we have Iron Bug or Pain Suppression, or whatever. But like Wings is this one really or Pally in general is very reactive, and I think that's where it gets kind of
awkward.
Up.
Yeah.
And a lot of groups that do play with the Holy Paladin, really their goals revolve around the ability that they're able to go in so deep with because their Paladin has wings up.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
I mean, that's BFA, but that's not. I mean, think about what monks had with Way of the Crane. Was that not the way a couple during Legion when they went way of the crane, and then that was like a go?
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
Everyone was immortal if you pop Crane.
Exactly, and you're doing a whack ton of damage.
But that's a problem with the ability itself, right? Not about how strong it is, but
Yes.
it's still about like, even if let's say wings would be like 40% less than they are right now, which I still think that would be pretty decent.
Sure.
To then run into that situation, I think that would make a difference. But sure, that's obviously like based on the ability, right? Like the ability is just too overtuned to an extent, especially on such a short cooldown.
Exactly.
Well, and I guess we've kind of already moved into this aspect, but I mean, what other? I mean, we're hitting really hard the paladin right now. What other class
Well,
specs?
they kinda deserve
specifics
it.
Are we...
Hey.
what other kind of class spec specifics are we wanting to dig into?
We're not on GCD anymore, right?
No.
No, we're
Apparently
moving.
not.
I mean, we've definitely pushed off of GCD. I think we left it at a good spot where
we
our
flogged that.
spell
Yeah.
Sure.
our spell modifiers are where I think a lot of the pain point is for our classes. You know, where we have to push this button in order to move on to this ability, and we're halted by that GCD. It really interrupts the flow of gameplay.
Yeah.
And now we're hammering, you know, this situation where if wings aren't up, then it feels like Ret Pallies aren't healing, or sorry, Holy Pallies aren't healing, and so, you know, we're starting to go. And I guess Anboni, let's turn to you and have a moment of silent prayer for the poor Shadow Priest.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Pretty sure you guys are the baddies this patch. So, do we really feel that?
Okay, they're pretty good right now. I don't want Bonnie to milk this and seem like they're like struggling. Okay, like they're pretty solid.
I'm struggling over here, okay?
You play RPS, Shadow Priest Hunter,
He's
Shadow Priest
only-
Windwalker. There's a lot of good options.
He's
for
only
him.
struggling trying to keep his void form steady.
Yeah, class design wise, but they're solid. You could be, dude. He could be like a Moonkin Druid or something, where like they're like a shooting star. You know, don't make it seem like they're that bad.
It's not that bad.
Don't get me wrong, but the only way Boomkins actually do real damage is with shooting star, because they're the corruption version, because their shooting stars doesn't hit worth anything, right?
Star Surge we're talking about.
Star Surge, yeah.
It's not too bad.
That's how they do damage. The problem with Boomkin is they just take they just sit like, if you think about it, right? Like they have to, in order to use their defensive, they have to go into bear form, then they have to press frenzy, or they have to press bark, and they have to sit in a form and like passively try and like stabilize while doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know, whereas other classes that Bonnie can just press fade. You know, like he doesn't have to go into this form. Okay, well, I mean, if he does press it, but he does press his fade, but so he can go into something and like he has to sit there while this guy can. Other classes, their defense is like rogues can just press cloak and they're still doing something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Fair.
This guy.
Warlocks just stand there and just take it.
Yeah, warlocks don't have to press anything. They're hard chilling. They can just sit there and absorb everything.
Yeah. This guy in chat said gushing QT would be a good Shadow Priest. I think that's true. That's a true
We
statement.
talked about Gushing Cutie.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
Everyone knows that guy now.
He would be a
Everyone
good
knows that
Shadow
guy.
Priest.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
World
Oh my
famous.
gosh. All right, so back to you, Bonnie. Though, what would you like to see different with Shadow Priest?
Oh, Shadow Priest specifically?
Yeah.
I would like Void Form to go. I don't think it works. They tried it out in Legion. It was fine, but it just doesn't work anymore. They can't seem to balance it. Shadow Priest is either good in PvP and Mythic Plus and insane in raids, or it's good in raids and kind of bad in Mythic Plus. And in PvP, it's fine because it's decently tanky. It has a lot of cooldowns and it has big utility. But Shadow in PvP doesn't work the way it's intended to work, I think. We have talents that make it not drain sanity when you're in stuns and stuff like that. Things you would really like to have in Legion, but they are completely irrelevant now. Now you're just Shadow is not terrible, but I don't know how Blizzard thinks Shadow works in PvP, but it's just Shadow Word Bane and CC. That's it. So basically, get rid of Shadow Form, make Mind Blast hit hard, and get rid of Void Form completely.
Bonnie, you remember
That's
season?
like TLDR. I can talk about it.
Was it
5
season
hours.
1 or season 2? You remember
Season
when?
1. Yep. Season
When
1.
you didn't go into you played what was it? When you took
Edge
when
of
you went full,
Insanity.
yeah.
Yep.
So you don't go. So it was
Yep.
actually not worth it to go into void
Yeah,
form.
exactly.
So then you would just take less damage not being in void form. So if you think about it, if there's a talent that makes it so you don't use your class mechanic, that can't be good design, right? Like
Right.
don't go into void form. Don't actually use your abilities because you'll be better off not.
I remember in season 1 we would fight other shadow priests sometimes, and some shadow priests were playing with fire. They would go in void form a little bit just to do a tiny bit of extra burst damage, and they would die so fast because they take 20% more damage in void form.
Yeah,
And then I was like, oh shit, he went in void form, and they die so fast.
Yep. Yep.
What
That's
about
bad-
what
that's
about
bad
going
design.
back to the old kind of like the Affliction Warlock style, where you guys just became complete drain tanks?
I mean, Shadow was never really a huge dot class except for Legion. Before Legion, it was more like you just build up to this big
Yeah,
giant dot, Devouring
Devouring
Plague.
Plague was so
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, and your Mind Blast hit really hard up until WoD. In WoD, they completely changed SP, and then in Legion changed it even more. Because up until WoD, Mind Blast did big damage. It was like a glacial spike. You could feel it when someone took a Mind Blast. A lot of spells were like that. Frostbolt was like that
Yeah.
as well. You could just shatter with Frostbolt and Ice Lance, and you would chunk people. Now,
Yep.
if you shatter with Frostbolt Ice Lance, it's two pixels.
Don't remind me of that. Oh,
It's not. Yeah.
Deep Freeze dead.
I mean, yeah, Deep Freeze Orb. Temp, go back in time. 50 million procs.
Oh yeah.
I want
All the
Deep Freeze to
time.
come back, man.
Same. I think it's good.
Sorry, I'm just saying. I'm just remembering a time back when I played Frost Mage. It was glorious.
I love my Frost Mage.
Yes, Frost Mage was good. All right.
Yeah.
What about Drown? What would you like? What would you like change? We kind of talked a little bit originally about seals there. I kind of caught you off guard. Is there anything else you want to change with Pallies?
10 more yards on Hand of Justice would be nice. Yeah, really. I mean, 10 yards, stun. Yeah, you are not very mobile as a Red Paladin, even if you spec into Double Pony and use Unbound Freedom.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you like feeling like you're a lawnmower with nobody around to cut?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you like enjoying feeling like a lawnmower with nobody around to cut?
Lawnmower on pavement.
Yeah.
No. But I'd also like to see red that doesn't belong so much to on wings.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd
Oh,
love
yeah.
to see red does less burst damage and more sustained damage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if a red paladin pops wings, everybody runs away or you see him.
Yeah.
And yeah, then you only have a kill window every 2 minutes, and yeah, people know what to do, and that's it.
And all
I
this,
mean,
yeah.
you can't spell steal them. I mean, it wasn't was it Burning Crusade? But I mean,
Yep.
yeah, everybody knows if a red paladin pops his wings, you run away.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
find it like kind of stupid, to be honest. This is what I
Yeah.
want to get changed.
Very fair. All right. So make it less burst reliant. Fair enough.
Yeah, more or less. Less burst, more sustained,
Yeah.
and 10 more yards.
That's funny. I want
on
more
Justice.
bursts for myself. That's what I want.
Yeah, because you're all sustained.
And
I have no damage. I'm zero
I
damage.
cannot speak on the high rated place because I'm not playing that high. I don't know what,
No.
for example, Evangeline or Vanguards think about that.
I think everybody would agree with
Everyone agrees with
classes.
that.
Yeah, no one wants to
In-
just be
in
all
general.
because when you play, if your class is just like cooldown reliant, it's very easy to play around. If you just disarm the ret, if you spam fear, coil.
Yeah, that's
like,
it. It's extremely frustrating.
You don't get to. Dude, I played a ret the other night with my friend. He's just my buddy, and I'm like, I usually play Holy Paladin or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm playing my Paladin, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna hop on my ret. We're gonna have a good time playing some twos. I was ready to throw my keyboard out the window. Just waddling it. It's just playing ret twos is I don't know how anyone mains a
Oh,
ret. I'm serious.
Goodness.
I don't care. It's like, yeah, it's the perfect balance of just being so pissed off the entire time that when you get there and you finally hit somebody, you're just like, yes, like you're so excited and you kill them. Like it's such a satisfying feeling, you know. So the whole time you're pissed off, and then it creates this frustration that when you get there, you're so happy. Like when you actually connect, you know.
I mean,
awful.
We're talking a lot about the PvP in the arenas. How would these changes affect more in the battleground situation?
Yeah.
How does Ret feel in battlegrounds? Has anybody been
always really good? Red in battlegrounds still very good.
Yeah. Because they can't all run from you.
Pardon me?
Because they can't all run away from you.
That's correct.
That's right.
Some chubby guy is still there to hit him. Because he's
Where'd
not fast
everybody
enough.
go?
Somebody else is in a wheelchair.
Yeah, gotcha. He's also in a wheelchair. Also, yes.
Exactly.
So it's just two Rets beating each other in the middle of the map.
It's like 2 Reinhardts or something, yeah.
The thing is, the first one who pops Shield of Vengeance will lose.
Yep.
because if you pop it at last, his shield explodes, then your shield explodes, and he gets all the damage, and you don't, because the shield protects you.
Yep.
Pretty
So
mean.
it's a game of chicken.
Yeah. My rogue got one-shotted today by
You
Shield
gotta
of
do it
Vengeance.
first, man.
Say 1 HP.
That's hilarious.
I'm not pressing it.
It seems that a lot of the changes that we're talking about as far as our classes is that we want to be deadly outside of our cooldowns. You know, we want there to be a little bit of fear in the other players, and that our Mind Blasts do more damage, our Frostbolts do more damage, that we're not building up to this, okay, I have to pray that this Ice Lance goes off while I'm in my Icy Veins, in my ice form, and that it hits, and that I hit them for a crit, and that it's, 2 million damage and they die. It sounds like we'd rather be looking at, okay, if I can get 3 Frostbolts off, that I'm threatening them. Or if I get 2 Mind Blasts off, I'm threatening them.
It's the style of gameplay. Yeah.
Well, I just said we want our cooldowns to kind of get us over the finish line, not take us there.
Yeah. It's the same thing for PvE as well, though. It's like it's just the design of the game, and it just happens to like bleed into PvP right now. So it's like you don't do anything in PvE, like on a raid boss.
Yep,
You're just cycling till your
Yep.
You don't do anything, and then you just unload with combust, right? Like, and then your DPS goes from maybe 40k to like 120k. So it's not so much like we want it to change in PvP. It's, are they going to change the design of the game to where your cooldowns aren't these crazy amplifiers? I mean, if you think about them, they're just they're nuts. Like the actual, like, all of your spells will crit for the next couple of seconds. So you build up into that. Wings, like you get whatever percentage, like some crazy amplifier. So it's nothing to do with like what we want in PvP. It's are they willing to change how the game is played, and that's how it determines, it's, and I'm sure they base it off PvE first, what's more exciting for players, I don't know, I think some players, what's more fun, if you're on a raid boss and you just unload and you're just blasting the meters and then you do nothing, or if you're just doing the same thing the whole time. What are they going to decide to do? I think that the cooldown system, we've done it for a while, so it might be a nice change, but I'm assuming that for the average player, just unloading feels a lot more fun than just hitting the guy for a similar number over and over and over again, which is kind of like classic a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's really boring, to be honest.
What if Blasters were more complex, though, instead of just
button? Instead of just shadow bolting in the molten core I did.
Or it had raid mechanics.
Yeah, I regret that decision playing that game so much.
I think the difference though is that if you're gonna make a class have cooldown reliability, or be consistently reliable just on the cooldowns, don't have the cooldowns line up especially just with the CCs of other classes, because then they become useless, because every time you have a chance to go, you're just gonna get shut down. Especially if you have that big burst like the Ret Pally, right? So
the goal, I mean, that's why you have dampening in place, but the goal of it is like to try and force a CD, like maybe you get the zone for free and then you have combust after. maybe you somehow force a zone or something. So it's just like the goal is to try and get something out of the way if you can before you actually have your CD. Oh, he trinketed that, I still have Vendetta, or he walled that, I have Vendetta in 20 seconds. So like that's your goal, or otherwise, and that's why you hit dampening. It's because every time something happens, and at least in, if you watch rated PvP, it's always just the same exact exchange, forcing the same CD usually, and then.
I think one big thing there is, like normal abilities doing damage, but the self-healing from a lot of classes is like DHs can use like meta and heal themselves while the healer is lining all the time. Warlocks can heal themselves like for millions in an arena with leash and mastery. Rogues can like I can feint and pop Crimson Bile and they heal themselves so much. Like I don't think self-healing is good. Yeah, you can have some, like you can trade it if you like try to heal yourself before a kidney or something like that is fine, but you cannot heal yourself for a long time, I don't think.
So what do you think about, on that conversation, what do you think about percentage-based abilities? Because recently Zara, you came out and was upset about the GPI change.
Yeah.
I think the GPI change is good.
Good,
right?
Yeah, same.
I mean, I want a mage to tell me why it's not a good change, because I just want to hear the logic of why. Other than the fact that you might get kicks out of the way, it lands CC easier, but if he was saying that no one uses it at a higher rating, which sometimes is true, but MLD uses it like every game. You always play GPI, right? So
it's just too long. 15 seconds in a game, massive. Like that's a way too quick number. Why I think it will just be that talent. Like I don't play mage, but I go through a lot of like players, like classes' abilities, and what would be logical to press. And I think having, and we talked about it earlier, having a talent that is literally useless is nothing you want. Like 15-second cooldown is just too big, and it will just make it unviable.
Yeah. It makes a big difference on whether or not.
I think for some comps it's gonna be viable still, because if you get kick, you don't get the cooldown, so you're still gonna bait kicks. If you MLD, you're still gonna tank, or you're gonna be like, if you get a CC on a healer and they get a GPI, you're probably gonna be dead. But if you like stop it and then they don't have any damage, you can like let the CC go. I think it's still gonna be viable in certain comps to bait kicks, but it's not gonna be like as OP as right now that you can just spam it all the time. You get one and then you pop every cooldown and then you can like kill someone.
You can do big.
You guys are talking about the Shadowlands version, right?
Yeah.
I think 15 is just overkill. I think 15 is just like a little
definitely.
Maybe you could change the. I think the ability. I don't like any ability that you absolutely have to kick this. Like it's just not like. Why do I have to kick that ability that the game's over? Like if he gets that GPI, it's game changing. Why does that exist in the game? Where like I have to spend an interrupt that I could spend on something a lot more impactful, but I'm forced to because he has a talent that I have to kick. Why just make Fireball do more damage? Or like it just doesn't make any sense. GPI is such a weird ability. Like I don't see why mages would complain. I play Demon Hunter a lot. I don't want mana burn in the game. I think it's ridiculous. I don't want, it makes me revolve my spec and my class around it. So it's like, why if I don't want that, why would any mage want GPI?
So, well, I want mana drain back as a warlock, but that's different.
Okay, relax over there with the mana drain. Please,
Classes that I play, I want it back.
I don't want that. You're just running around. Mana burning as a healer, bro. Like, leave my mana alone, please. It's already annoying enough to manage that. So
it just depends on how much damage the Greater Power is going to do, right? Because if you look at Chaos Bolt, theoretically, Chaos Bolt I think is a more ridiculous ability. In general. Well, because I mean, if you have all cooldowns up and a lot of haste, you have your flash point up, you can get 2 Chaos Bolts who possibly do the same amount or close to it. In the time you cast 1 Great Pyro, but
then you also have to empower it using your traits and other things too, right?
Well, that won't be there in Shadowlands, right? You're not going to have Flashpoint. You won't have Vision of Perfection. You won't. So how good is Warlock going to be? That's what makes Warlock good. Warlock is an amazing example of a class through BFA that got just has been compiled with things that have made it stronger throughout the seasons, right? Essences, Azurite traits, corruptions. All of these have made Warlock into this crazy class. That's why you nerf Warlocks. How? I mean, you have to change everything about the class.
Take off their gear.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
Well, and I
Here's-
think the difference between Chaos Bolt and GPI is that you actually have to build up to Chaos Bolts,
Yeah.
but GPI is just I push and I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
an
true.
instant threat
Yeah.
on the board.
That's true. Yeah,
Once
I
you-
have to
once you-
generate
once you
shards to
see-
cast Chaos Bolt.
Yeah, once I catch the 2 Chaos Bolts and I use a cooldown to pass that, you have, 10, 15 seconds like they're trying to do with the changes to Greater Pyro that, he can't cast any more Chaos Bolts right now. But with Greater Pyro, it's, he just cast it. He's casting another one. And another one.
And you're dead.
And another one.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Line it, line it, line it.
yeah, there's not
In the open
as
field.
much.
I mean, at the same time, if we're talking about the version right now, you can also double blink while casting GPI, and if you get kicked, you can just cast Ring or Sheep or CS as well. Like if you get CS
Yeah,
from that, you're kinda
I know
Really
the.
stupid.
stuck.
I have no. I like Zarya, and there's not. He was just like, just line it. It's like, okay, bro, like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like line
playing-
chaos.
Even if you line it, you create pressure. Even if you don't get it off.
Why
it's
do
just-
I have to?
it's
I have to
stressful.
run behind the pillar every time you press a button. Like that's crazy, you know. And then maybe there's a warlock on the team just spam rooting me, which by the way, can flag is in their rotation, so they're rooting me. It's like, dude, like how am I? Sometimes you can't move. I
Yeah.
can't. I'm
Yeah.
stuck. Like
I know.
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Me and Bonnie were talking about it. He's like, oh, if you see it, you can just line it or something. What's worse is when you see it and you can't line it, like you're stuck. You know, you can tell them I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead before it's even gone off. Like you know
Yep.
you're dead. You know, it's
Yeah.
the
You
worst
you
feeling.
just hope that you run behind them as the last little bit of the cast.
Yeah,
and
you
they
ain't getting that
quite,
off.
Like,
Yeah,
you
there's no way.
Must be
No.
facing the target in order to cast.
Yeah, but you just can't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, you finally
classic
line it and
scenario.
he blinks to your side and gets
I hate that. I hate
No.
when Poly Bling G.
Hello,
I hate it.
Oh my
dude.
gosh.
So percentage-based abilities are kind of out. We don't like things being so
Yep.
threatening that it's like, this one ability is forcing me to change my entire play style.
Yeah.
And there is very little counterplay. You can counterspell it, and cool.
So you
It
get
would-
sheep.
with the new changes, it puts it on a global cooldown. It puts it on the hopefully, with Shadowlands, it'll put it on 15 seconds is what I believe it's saying. You counterspell it,
So-
cool. It's on a 15-second cooldown.
I just want to be cautious here.
But-
We're getting these little snippets from data mining. I feel that there's so many things still to come out, and we don't
True.
know what the haste breaks are going to be like. We don't know anything
Well,
else.
and this is
Looking at
where-
one individual ability like that is still a little concerning to me. I just want to.
Yeah, and this is where I think but the umbrella is that we don't want a single ability to alter the course of a match so drastically
Oh, exactly.
that
Yeah.
it prevents counterplay.
Yeah.
So percentage-based ability.
But it doesn't prevent counterplay. Like the GPI has plenty of counterplay available to it. I don't think that any of us would deny that.
I think the difference is do you use and hold? Do you hold your kick only for that one ability and kicking it, not something else, rather than okay,
Well,
it's
and
one
that's what
GPI. I'm not that worried about it.
forces you.
Well,
Yeah.
no, because you've got all sorts of different like if you stun in cap provide any type of CC, you'll stop a greater pyroblast, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like to say that you have to hold your kick for it. I mean, unless you're playing like double boomkin and it's like, shoot, dude, I've only got a solar beam. Like, what do we do? Like,
But
I
the
mean,
thing is, everything you're saying, those are all the same thing, right? Like I have to burn a stun for a spell. I have to burn an end cap for a spell. It's the same thing as me using my kick. You know, if I have to use something every time he presses one button that's not on a CD,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's the point of it. Like it's not just the interrupt. It's I'm using something for him to press one button every time.
right, but he's
When I
not
can
getting
do a
that
lot
damage.
more.
Like, it's a long cast. Like, that's all that time is damage that he's not being able to get off. If you're able to stop like 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3.
So the issue is that if I'm using those, right, the guy literally revolves around combust. So all I'm doing is burning all my stuff, using all my CDs to try and get that, and then the guy has combust, you know? Like, so he's just that's all he's doing.
Waiting for one to get off.
He's burning through interrupts, burning through stuns. That's all mage gameplay is.
Mhm.
Just eat shit. Like, eat stuff. You know? You're just eating. You don't get to play the game for the longest time, especially with like 2 melee on you. That's all it is, though. But if you can understand that mentally, that's what you're doing. just baiting stuff out of the way. Cool, got the grounding. Cool, got the interrupt. Cool, got the stun. All right, combust. Let's go. You know what I mean? You get the sheep combust. It's over. Like that's how they win the game. Is in those goes.
Stu,
Yeah.
you have to remember that they do have temp shield. You know, so I mean, it's not just the greater pyro.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
they use that temp shield. You know, but yeah, no.
I think temp shield.
totally
I think they
agree
should
with you.
leave mage with 2 blinks. Give them temp shield. I'm fine with all that stuff. Like, I don't think they should be gutted. Like right now, they look pretty bad. 1 blink,
Yeah.
no temp shield. That's too much for me. Like
Yeah.
I'm not being unfair. I just don't want like ridiculous abilities. Like they're fine. Like don't give them temp shield back. Give them 2 blinks. Please don't have blink sheep. Maybe if you want to give them another form of mobility, like blazing speed, whatever, that's fine with me. Like I don't like the fact that I can poke out, cast sheep, blink twice to get me in a sheep. You know, it's really
Yeah.
annoying.
Give them the
But-
freeze back and
Yep.
Whatever,
Deep
man.
freeze, palm for a
It's a line.
gain.
Yeah, get rid of Shimmer for Deep Freeze. I think is a good trade.
I don't want to gut anything. It's just, come on, dude.
Yeah.
G-Pie's just dumb. Like,
hey,
It's pretty powerful.
I think monks need to be nerfed down a bit. Same with demon hunters. That's just me.
I have.
Warlocks alone.
I will
Leave
go
warlocks
on. I will go on to the demon hunter if you want me to talk about that for a second. I can talk about that for a bit.
Well, let's actually. I have one quick question before
Sure.
we get into talking about other classes. And that, if we're going to talk about other classes, I'd like to ask tanks. Why
No.
did it have to be tanks?
No.
No.
No, I'm gonna be honest here. Like last season when Guardian Druid turned out to be a thing, you know, I think it was a little bit more popular on EU at first. I wanted to leave. I legit didn't want to participate. I literally rather took, and I think it was worth it, the -15, but spare myself 15 minutes in which I can do 2 or 3 other games,
Yeah.
than possibly doing a game that I might still lose at the end anyway. And I'm just like totally frustrated and can't be asked anymore. Like tanks are just, I didn't play in Rav, you know. I think in Rav tanks kind of had like a role, but they sort of like, sure, those come surely were OP at certain points from what I've heard, but it seemed okay. But literally the way Guardian Druid, for example, was made last season, it didn't matter how much better you are than that player, you could not kill them. It was
Yeah.
impossible. You couldn't kill him, you couldn't kill his teammate, and it was all passive. It was literally based around passive abilities that Guardian had that just like took all the fun out of you.
I
that you had.
have to admit that there were many a time that Garrison and I found ourselves in arenas together where we were staring at a Guardian Druid and fighting for our lives.
Yeah.
They had so much damage and so much survivability, and it was
Indeed.
this terrible dance that we had to do perfectly in order to kill it, and many a times we died. You know?
That's because we didn't do anything perfectly.
I mean, the game doesn't end for you're just there. Like you know that nothing really matters. The guy could just link air. You know, it's probably Guardian Druid Shaman like DK or like Demon Hunter or whatever, Windwalker, and the Shaman like could do nothing. Like, you know, he could wall air, he could link air. It doesn't matter because like, you know, the game doesn't end for. It's the worst experience. You know, you're not happy when you're winning and you win. It's not even a good feeling. You're like, oh my gosh, please don't get into that again. When you lose, it feels the same. So it's like that stuff. I don't know. I don't know why they don't just take them out of arena. Like if you're trying to make it competitive, if you want it to be something like this, you know, if you're trying to make it something that's competitive, just don't let them queue for arena.
Yep.
And that's why that's why I'll get to it when we get to it. Hopefully we have time. The game is too heavily revolved around arena. So, like, oh, what about tanks? They don't get any. What if I like to play tank in PvP? You have other aspects that should be incentivized in the game that you can play a tank.
Yeah,
You know?
RBs.
Yeah. Or whatever, you know,
It's really
whatever.
just a balance.
Tanking's meant for
Whatever,
PvE.
it's not arena.
Yeah, tanking is
Yeah,
meant for
not
PvE.
arena.
Yeah.
I actually like seeing a tank that is balanced. I mean, in Legion, we had the prop pally. I thought that was fun gameplay. I thought that was interesting gameplay. I thought it worked. But in this situation where we have this Guardian Druid, the problem is that he's just completely overblown on his power level.
You don't remember the Prot Warrior from Legion.
Yeah.
There's Prot Warriors in Legion. And those
Oh
things.
yeah, gladiators.
That was almost
Prot Warrior,
worse.
Warrior, dude.
Yeah.
That was just as bad, dude. You don't remember those guys? They did
No,
humongous damage.
I
That
hated them,
thunderclap.
man. That's
Well,
why.
and
That's why we banned tanks in our PvP tournaments. We just said nope. You just get instantly disqualified if you play a tank.
There's not. It wouldn't be as. I don't think they banned them from Arena.
Oh no, that's
Because-
ours, not Blizzard.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I just think Blizzard doesn't get rid of them because it would just solve the issue. Why do you have to? Why spend time balancing a class like that? They don't want to get rid of them because that is the end all be all for PvPers is Arena. What else are you gonna do? I mean, I know Doomsen does a lot of BGs, or not Doomsen. Drownlord does a lot of BGs. So you know,
Tanks are
like,
pretty annoying.
I think I saw him on the document talk about, you know, there should be places for people to go other than Arena. You know,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
should. There's a lot.
Oh,
of
we
in
we
Arena-
have that. Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In Battlegrounds, tanks are, I think they are totally fine, but not in Arena. I mean, I think it was Ghostcrawler who said, if tanks have fun in PvP,
No one else
others
is-
don't. Yeah,
I'm not-
that's the thing. I think what's the purpose for a tank in PvP? I mean, Winsett, you talked about the Prot Paladin in was it Legion? Yes.
Yeah.
In season 1, I think it was. Prot Paladin were so cool and good to play that I think Evangeline played Prot, and Evangeline is a known Red Paladin.
Yep.
Weren't they
Prot
at
because
They were at BlizzCon, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It
was like
I
enhancement
mean,
Prot or
I mean,
something.
if you look at the toolkit, I mean, if you look what a Prot Paladin can do, what he has, it's freaking awesome.
Right, because you could.
Yep.
I mean,
the
in
sack,
Legion, it were. I mean, I think Legion was a bit cooler, but still, if you look what he can do, for example, Consecration, you can slow people, in Legion you could heal your allies, not for a big amount, just a smaller one, but the possibility is really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
It's not it's not a game changer, but it's nice. It's nice to
utility.
have.
It's utility.
Yeah,
If
it's
tanks are
nice to
bringing
have-
utility into the arena. That's fine. But I definitely agree with you guys that a Guardian Druid should not be out healing the healer, and should not be out damaging the DPS.
Yeah.
Well,
know,
then
I mean,
then you
that's
just get a
where it's
problem.
like, okay,
all
bro.
that does is breed a problem then, because you say, well, Blizzard, why do you hate tanks? Why are you making them not viable in an arena? Because you're not going to give them
But
enough
we've
utility to make
seen
it
them-
viable.
We've seen them be viable. It's
No.
doable. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's doable.
Pretty
We've
hard,
seen it with,
pretty hard,
we've seen-
yes.
I mean, Prot Pally was viable at the highest levels of PvP, and they didn't win.
I think
It
when
was
they're
viable.
viable, they're too strong. Like I think that's the
Yes, exactly.
conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
When they're viable, they're too strong. There's no sweet spot.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a sweet spot for a tank. Like it's just too strong. Usually that's why you play it. You know. So
Exactly.
it's too like, you know, like at the rate at which we get changes, I'd rather have them go. If they could just actively, you know what I mean, look how long it takes them to make some changes sometimes, you know. And I don't know if it's because they're working on something else. It's the budgeting. I've heard I've gotten some insight from somebody that they'd rather make no changes than make changes in good faith, and people get upset. So sucks to hear that, but I do feel that it's too difficult to
Yeah.
balance. Why, you know, there should be other avenues for tanks, just like there should be other avenues for other classes. It shouldn't just revolve around arena, and because we focus so much on that. I mean, look at all this conversation. It's all about arena, you know. So it needs to be about something other stuff, and let them go do stuff there. What are you tanking in an arena? Like the tank is supposed to aggro a boss. You have like, you know,
Yeah.
like what are you tanking in an arena? You're not.
Rating? That's what you should be tanking.
Yours or theirs.
I would say
Taking my rating is what you're doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think tanks. Honestly, this is my feeling. I think tanks should be allowed to play PvP, but not be viable above 2K.
Why? What's the
them
point
play-
of that?
Yeah, like
That's true. Actually, what is the point of that?
I don't know. Just if they want to say they can play, then they can play.
So
but
piss off
not-
everyone underneath 2K, and then, you know,
Why not?
The gatekeepers
but-
of the
Those are the
arena.
those are the most vocal people.
But I think you have a good point there. You're right, Stoopzz, because we see how much Vengeance Demon Hunters are and Guardian Druids are like the go-to flag carriers in rated BGs.
Yeah, you need them.
That's true. Even in BGs, right? It's the same
Yeah.
technically.
Well, that's because everybody looks at rated BGs and looks at what people are doing, and they call
That
me
makes sense to have a tank to hold your flag. You
Yeah,
know,
it
that makes
does.
sense. It has a purpose. Who's gonna hold the flag? The most durable class.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's why
Yeah, right.
tanks in battlegrounds or rated battlegrounds are okay. I mean, you have a flag to defend, you have a base
Points
to
to set,
defend. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean that's okay. Yes, it's pretty annoying if you have Demon Hunter in Warzone Gulch, and yeah, he's flying, jumping,
Yeah.
Jumping up the mountains
but
and
it's
stuff.
but it's
Exactly.
no, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good point, and I see this in chat. I agree. The problem is when there's only one tank class for doing that. Like, why can't we have all the tank classes be a viable flag carrier? Why does it have to be just Demon Hunter? Just because? But I think that's just because of mobility, right? Because we saw that. I think it was
Yeah, Demon Hunters don't need healers with them
no.
because they can kite the whole team.
Yeah, exactly.
No one can keep up.
It was rogues there for the longest time. I think Wad and Mop was a rogue was the flag carrier because of the mobility.
Mop had
was-
barrel.
There was Boomy in Legion.
Okay.
Mop had barrel due to symbiosis, so they had the dispersion and like major cooldowns
Right.
and everything.
Yes. Yes.
But again, like the mobility always like kind of like you will never be able to balance that just purely based on the maps, right? Like Demon Hunters have these advantages, even Druids or whatever. Like you will never ever be able to change that, you know. Like also
And I
there needs to be variety, right? Like not everybody can have the same strengths. Like that's just not gonna work. But, I mean,
Right.
sure, you know, if it comes to balance, that would be the perfect case, but it will never happen.
I want players to understand that as well. Like, this isn't a game where you can just like. I get the frustration, you know. Like, I get the frustration of like, this is your class, you gear it, but it's not like League where you can just swap off something. You know, like, oh, this guy's nerfed, this guy's not that good anymore, so I'll just play
Exactly.
this instead. You know.
Just kick it to the
So it's
curb.
really it's so hard to balance this game, you know. So you have to
Oh,
just
yeah.
be okay with the unbalance. You have to be okay with just that this class. I always say that you just play something that's solid. Like don't pick like Fury Warrior. Like I want to play Arena. Like don't play Fury Warrior. You know what I mean? Just don't do that. Don't play Outlaw Rogue. Just play Sass. You know. But you
Mhm.
have to be okay with the idea that your class might not always be the best.
Yeah.
You know that's just the game of WoW. You can't easily swap off. Legion was the best at this though because in midway through halfway through Legion it was very alt friendly.
Yeah.
In
You
the
know, so
beginning, though.
vendors help in that. Less corruption helps in that. Not having essences helps in that. That you can just swap off. And having less abilities and a more simple class design helps with that. So there are there are benefits to having less abilities and a much more simple loot system. And just because if you don't like the balancing, you can just swap off. And it's not too
Yeah.
complex to play. So it's a trade-off, and you have to
speaking
decide if
of,
you're okay with that.
Speaking of things being incredibly unbalanced, and about Legion, World PvP. You know,
It's
what
time,
would we,
Stoopzz.
what would we
I
like
think
to-
mine comes at the end. I
what
don't
would you
know.
like to see
There's a
about
there's a
World
thing that does.
PvP?
Yeah, I think I stay. I think I wait on this one. At the
Well, I
end of
mean,
your
I would love to
other.
see. I would love to see a Burning Crusade come back. You know, where there's these PvP objectives, they're up all the time, and if you want to fight over them, fight over them.
Now's the target's a fair amount.
I spoke with Stoopzz, so I know what he's gonna say. Yeah,
I'm
what he
holding
said
it in,
there.
I know
Yeah,
it's it.
I'm gonna save it. You're holding it in. You're gonna say it better.
Go for
But
it,
yeah,
go
they're
for
having like extra objectives on top of what Stoopzz gonna say would be nice as well.
Yeah.
I having a just take it away.
I want to wait because there's a point at the end where you have like incentivization at the very end. So I'll wait till the
Oh,
last
you're gonna wait.
point.
Okay,
We are
okay.
Yeah, I
coming
think it's
up
better
on
I
our-
wait.
We're coming up on our 2-hour mark, guys. So I
Yeah.
don't want to. I mean, we could probably keep this going for 6. But if this is a good channeling, because I think incentivization is a huge part of
Yeah.
why we PvP. And
Yep.
I mean, I loved Burning Crusade World PvP because they had these objectives, and there was an incentive to have them. If you owned them, you did more damage in a zone. If you owned them, you got more experience as you were leveling.
Mhm.
You know, they were things that actively impacted the gaming world around you.
Yeah.
And
I love the Legion. I love the free for all zones, and I love the
Yeah.
you know
yeah,
go run
The
and
towers. They were good.
yeah, they were fun as heck.
Towers.
Yeah, there was these
Oh,
zones.
Dude,
towers.
Yeah.
Weren't those
PvE.
PvE? That was PvE. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I
PvE.
loved going there and like waiting
But it was-
in the shadows for one guy to come over and be like, "Oh, I'm going to do this PvP event," and they'd flag, and then I'd blow them up, and it's like, ah.
Dude, Bareback
You are
Brawl
meanie.
was the best.
You are a meanie.
Oh, Bareback Brawl was so fun.
Bareback Brawl. Dude, you'd get on the dragon, you'd just be like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think World PvP needs some cool achievements and rewards.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll
for example,
I'll go into
think
it
about
then, yeah.
think
So
about
dive in.
Okay.
Stoops, on
get
your-
the honorable
what are you
kills
looking at?
achievements. 250k is the limit. That there is nothing more. I mean, I have over 730,000 honorable kills, and yeah, that's it. There needs to be more, 500, 1 million, and so on. There are many people out there. They have
For you, yeah.
many millions. And you can apply that to world PvP as well with cool rewards like titles, or transmog, or weapon
Yes.
enchant, illusions, or something.
Limited
like
time,
that.
maybe.
No, limited, not really.
No?
I got it.
I mean,
I mean, you need something to put player in. I mean, yeah, it's fun. I love PvP. I do world PvP, but not that much because I need something to. Why should I do it? I mean, honorable kills, okay, but I have the highest achievement, and that's it. I get nothing from that. Not even honor itself has something for me.
Yeah.
Just because it's fun to play with my crew.
One
And kill
thing
people.
before we blow your thing up. I think for me the most important thing is why I generally don't participate in these World PvP events, like the ones in National, for example, is the lag. So I was not being able to handle massive groups. Like it's just so frustrating. You know, you don't even need to participate, but if the entire you do your dailies, and the entire thing is lagging, it's just so demotivating. And I think that's also for me personally, the biggest turnoff of when I went into World PvP and the events that were added in, for example, BFA.
Totally.
yep. Lag makes it horrible.
Can't disagree there. And we talked about that with we did our World PvP episode, talking about how Rune Gaming comes in and they just overload a server and it just turns into a complete lag fest.
Yeah.
And then next you know the event's over because they lagged everybody out. So all right. Okay. So
Well, Stoops
No.
wanted to talk in on this.
no, I want to tie this in a little bit though.
He's being
Do you
overruled.
guys, do you guys feel that World PvP is a good way to incentivize people to come into and participate and then become PvPers, or no?
Yes.
Right now, or
In general,
is it, or should it be? Are you asking?
No.
I think
let's
it's
say
not
should it be?
right
We're
now
talking
at all.
about future. We're talking about Shadowlands.
Or should it be? It should be fun for
Should
sure. Yeah.
be, okay.
I think
Yeah,
it should be
I
fun.
think
It
it
shouldn't
should
be
be.
first. It's
Okay.
not right now. I don't think it is right now. Maybe in isolated cases, you play a rogue and you kill a guy and ha! Yeah, on that guy. I don't know. Maybe some people have fun like that.
I
But
think
I
BGs.
don't know.
BGs are way better.
I
because
think
you-
BGs
Yeah, because
the
you
point.
don't need to people. You queue, you get your invite. You are playing 10 versus 10, so you are playing with an equal amount of players. And if you do world PvP, see there's one guy, you attack him, and if you're unlucky, his
40
friends are
friends show
coming.
up.
Yeah, and you're one versus 5. Have fun. It's
yeah,
a nice
fair
experience for the first time PvP.
Fair enough. Or
But that's more of an
be
adventure.
wandering around by yourself and get rolled over by a raid
Yeah.
that's doing
That's more memorable than being in a BG. You die, you res. You go back, you die, you res. You go back, you
Yeah.
die, you res. I mean,
Yeah, but you get
That's World
you gain
PvP too,
experience in
I mean,
battlegrounds.
in World PvP, that happens once. You just fly away. After
I
you
mean,
die once.
it's personal preference. It's whatever somebody
that's true.
personally enjoys. If someone enjoys World PvP, that's
Exactly.
They should all be an option. They should all be just like raids and Mythic Plus is an option. That's something that
Mhm.
I feel that WoW really lacks. Is that for PvP you don't have an option. Dueling is not an option. I mean, people whatever. Maybe some people duel, right?
Yeah.
World PvP is not an option. And I
Well,
just
and
feel
you're
like
saying, incentive-wise, what incentive is there to World PvP besides 25 experience buff for Alliance and 10% for Horde? And you
When-
flag
when-
and you don't even really fight anybody.
Yeah.
They do have some incentives for PvP right now, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
they
if
have lots of
anyone's doing
conquest. Yeah.
them.
Call
You
to
have
arms,
the Call to Arms.
Right.
when I
It's not the best.
like for you brought I'll get into it. You brought up the Legion thing, right? The little zones in Legion where you would go in there and you would do some world PvP and you would unlock a lot. You get a lot of honor. Okay, so in every expansion except BFA, there was incentive to do other forms of PvP. So in Legion, so previous to that, you would do Battlegrounds because you would use that to get a starter set of gear, right? You would get Conquest, and you could buy a starter set of BG gear from a vendor that would allow you to get into Arena. So there was a purpose to BGs back then, right? You would start a new character, you would do some BGs, get some gear, and then advance into PvP, other forms of PvP with higher, whatever gear. That went away in Legion when there was no vendors. But then in Legion, they still kept the incentive of other forms of PvP because your honor talents, right? You had to unlock honor talents. So if I had a new character, I would go into these zones with my buddies and we, fight in that one place, like this Black Rock hold area. I don't know what it was. Yeah. And I would get my honor talents that way. You needed them. It was a really poor system, a missed opportunity, right? There was the prestige system. And the prestige system was a complete flop, unfortunately, right? Like you'd have to initially when you wanted a prestige, you would lose all of your honor talents, and then you'd have to start all over again. Who's gonna do that? It's not like Call of Duty, right? They tried to implement an Activision system, but
Activision
now in BFA, there's no incentive to do any other form of PvP. And the one thing that really frustrates me and why this is a big thing for me that I really want. I don't have any say in any of this, but I really want this to be like looked at is that one thing that WoW lacks before anything else, and this goes back to just sticking to like going, making sure the abilities that you do have are already good. One thing that WoW tries to do is tries to just add new stuff all the time rather than going back and fixing the stuff that we do have that works. The bread and butter of WoW, right? Raids, Mythic Plus, Battleground, PvP in general, those are the bread and butter of WoW, but they don't incentivize those enough. Those things should be number one priority, packed with content. So much stuff that you can earn, achieve. Mythic Plus, it's a start, but it's one mount. There should be tons of cosmetics. Rather than hiring a team to implement war fronts, which usually are a flop, islands that are usually a flop, garrisons that people don't like, double down on your art team and do cosmetics. A bad example of how you incentivize other forms of PvP are making the things required. A good example is Blood of the Enemy. For some classes, you need that essence to do right? But you're forced to do it if you don't like PvP. You have to go do BGs. Everything should be purely cosmetic if it's for more content, right? Aiden brought up tabards, okay? The tabards that we have right now for 2400, the past, whatever, they're just red. Like they're the same exact thing. They don't look any different. But if you look back at the Defiler's tabard or previous tabards where people spend thousands of dollars for they like these tabards, right? Item enchant illusions. Raids, for example, they go out of tier. People don't go back to old raids, but they will go back for cosmetics, old mounts, transmog sets. So it doesn't have to be a reward that's like you need to get it. It's an option. So Blizzard needs to incentivize everything that we already have. They spend so much time on Battleground revamping. Every expansion, a new BG comes out. They revamped Arathi Basin and Warsong. In the expansion that there's no incentive to do Battlegrounds. So I have I'll end it on this. 3 ways that they should do this. Okay, I know it's a little rant, but 3 ways they could do this. Number 1 would be adding rep to Battlegrounds, bringing back Battleground specific rep, World PvP specific rep. Okay, I don't like that one. I like that the least because when you do that, it just means I have to spam a certain amount of ABs. Okay, and then I'll get what I want from this. And it's all incentive, thematic incentive, not these honor level mounts that are a unicorn that makes no sense why I would get a unicorn and it's the same unicorn 8 times in a row. Okay, so that's one.
I actually kind of like the unicorn. I'm gonna say
I have them all. They're not thematic. Why am I writing a unicorn if I'm a PvPer? Why is it not like whatever? But I get what you're saying. So that's one. We could do rep. The second one would be the one that I like the most, and it's a much better version of the Prestige. They use Prestige. Obviously, that came from Call of Duty, right? Yep. We could all agree to that. Doesn't work in WoW.
I don't know. I don't play that game.
Call of Duty, you get to the max level in the game, and then you would start all over again to prestige, and you would lose all of your guns. So you would like them. They wanted to make it so you lost all of your talents. That doesn't work in WoW because you're like half the class. It's not like you have aim and you can still win games, right?
Yeah.
So they try to do a prestige system, right? But what they could do, and I like this the most. This is my second suggestion: is create a battle pass, which they have in all the other Activision games, where throughout the season you have these objectives that you have to do that you'll unlock. So they're seasonal long. So you get a list of things you can do, right? One of them might be for like, earn 100 flag caps throughout the season or recover 100 flags throughout the season. And you get a sick transmog, an illusion, a really good looking tabard. Maybe one of them is slay 50 undead players in Arathi Basin. So it's thematic and you get a thematic Arathi Basin mount. Maybe it's enter every city and slay the leader of that city. Similar to how you get the bear mount now, but you get something. It would just give me and all players something to do on their own that's seasonal and that resets, and you can unlock these little things that give you rewards, incentivize. Not a tactician title that I get on a level 300. It's like on a level 300. You know how long that takes? Yeah, like you know how long that takes.
Yeah.
So if you give us
Drown,
little
how long did it take?
Depends on how much honor you grinded in.
Yeah.
I mean,
for
Blizzard
a tactician, a title to tactician, not a sick mount, So incentives that we actually want. The third thing would just be to revamp your honor level system. You have this prestige system. It wasn't done well. They combined them all in BFA from Legion. Now it's account wide, and then they haven't touched it at all. The next reward I get, I'm at honor level 287. I checked. All I do is arena and PvP. Okay, I'm 287. All right. The next thing I get is at 300, and it's a tactician title. Every incremental reward should give you something that you actually want. Doubling down on what the game already does well before adding anything else, and incentivizing the hell out of them. Incentivizing Mythic Plus, Arena, raids with cosmetics, tons of them would go such a long way, and players would enjoy and love that.
Yeah.
That's my spiel.
Yeah.
That's
especially considering they say the art team carries WoW, right? Like, just like you said, double down on what you got. Double down on your good teams here. Your art team is incredible. Like, people love the art team and the aesthetic that World of Warcraft creates. It's wonderful. It's so well done. Nothing's like it. And so I feel like if you can actually harness those two things, that's a huge turnaround in the state of the game. So
yeah, you already have it done. The bread and butter is done. Just put stuff behind it that's worthwhile. Like, wow, that looks sick. Not the 2400. 2400 for a lot of players is so hard, and the tabard's literally like you went to a guild vendor and put nothing on it. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And then players, people pay thousands of dollars for the Tabard of Frost or whatever. Like, people love tabards. Make them look sick. This isn't a slight to the art team. They do amazing work, but,
Right.
Do they, though? I mean, they can. Let's put it that way.
They can. They can.
But they don't.
There's so much
that's
potential
actually
there. Still lying on the floor. Don't put it up.
If you look at the current sets or whatever, I'm gonna be honest. The people working in Classic and TBC, when the game first came out, they were way better. I mean, people literally still grind TBC dungeons or whatever because they love the transmog. Like, you get these really awesome offsets or whatever, and people really love them. And now I'm gonna be honest, I've never in my life used one set from BFA because
they're bad.
That was one okayish one that I actually used. Everything else I find so ugly. Like, I actually have to use the word ugly because compared to what they are able to do, it's just not using that potential. And especially the PvP tower, it's like, you had a bunch of seasons where they actually copied the one from the season before entirely.
Just a new color tint, if that.
Yeah, and then you have the ones from Wrath, like these really sick freaking towers that I wish I would have played back then to have them. But the ones now, I wouldn't know when I would ever use them.
How about Legion, though? The Legion sets look good, right? For most classes, they look pretty damn good, right?
Yeah,
because they went back to class orientated.
Yeah,
it's very class oriented.
But they still look in general good, right?
Yeah,
it's like if you look at what the art team probably works on everything, right? So they spend resources on things that people trying new things when the bread and butter of WoW is what people like. You know, we don't need islands and warfronts. Just double down on the stuff that you already do have. Would you be upset if they decided to drop maybe like islands for an extra raid tier? No one would be upset about that. Like, they're not fun for anybody, you know? You can think of a handful of good things that Blizzard has implemented that's new. Tower of Torghast could be fun. You have Mythic Plus, but
Mythic Plus.
garrisons, warfronts, islands, none of those are fun things. But I would much trade. I don't need that. Just give me double the transmog sets, double the raid tiers, double the things, double the dungeons. You know, the things that people already like would be a lot more fun. Incentivize those.
Who wants more battle pets?
Oh, hell
I mean,
no.
there's some people out there that do, but
I
some
do.
people do.
I like battle pets.
There's actually one point that you mentioned earlier, and that was, you just mentioned right now about, they have Mythic Plus, they have like Arena, they have everything, and they should focus on that.
Yep.
Looking at how they actually implemented Mythic Plus was really poor. Because the only reason Mythic Plus ever became a thing is due to community third-party website. Without Raid.io, and Plus would have never became a thing. Because the first MDI, like the first tournament attempt, were just, random teams signing up because nobody did M Plus anymore. Like, people did their weeklies, maybe they pushed like 1 or 2 level higher than the weekly. But other than that, there was no point in doing M Plus. You didn't, like, the gear reward wasn't really it or anything. It was literally Raid.io that made MDI, like Mythic Plus, an actual thing. Without it, they actually would have wasted that potential too. So they actually own it to Raid.io for, not letting that part die out.
Well, that and the item level and the quality gear you're getting out of something like a plus 10 compared to the same gear you're getting out of what, 2400?
Yeah.
I mean,
the incentive to do Mythic Plus is just a lot more. In Legion, it was greater to do Mythic Plus than it was to PvP. In BFA, it's more beneficial to do Mythic Plus than it is to do PvP. That's
Someone
the
should make
incentives, the rewards. Which, let's face it, we're all chasing some form of carrot, whether it's transmog or whether it's eye level or whatever. But
I think it's always been gear.
It doesn't have to be though, right? Like, you don't get anything for getting rank 1. You get a title and a mount, and well, you would get them out earlier. But it doesn't have to be gear, Yeah. And the double-edged sword of having stuff like Raider.io though is that there are so many people that can't get into Mythic Plus because of Raider.io. You have to start somewhere. I'm lucky. I literally get boosted through everything. Like people will help me do it. But people, you need this system to actually progress in the game, which is why more content like where you can just queue up into something should be incentivized. World PvP is great. Battlegrounds are great. I'd like to see Mythic Plus where you don't have to find a group. I like the group activity, but you have this major source of content that you focus so much on that players can't even experience. It's like going to like the craziest burger joint in your city and the line is literally all the way to like 5 blocks down. It's too small of an entry to get into. It's too difficult for a lot of people. I know everyone here might not experience it because you have a buddy, you're really good at the game, so you've already gone through this. But if someone's coming back into the game, they ask me, hey Stoopzz, how do I have no freaking idea what you should do. Just start Mythic Zeros and work your way up. Vendors help. These things help, but
I think part of it you just hit on is it's really getting your people networking and getting friends and people that you consistently play with. Because I heard it in other places, like nobody wants to sit in a 15-minute queue on LFG waiting for somebody to join them and then leave after the first loss and then have to do that again. They'd rather be able to just whisper their friends on their B tag list and off you go off to the races.
Yep.
But I do. Whoop.
Sorry, no, continue. Sorry.
No, I think we need to start wrapping this up though. We've come up to about 2 hours almost, and we guys, so much to talk about, so much, and I know that we had other things we wanted to say, but I think we need to shut this down. And I'll throw this back out to everybody that's been listening, and everybody's going to watch this afterwards. If you have any other thoughts, by all means, come over to the Warcraft Radio Discord. Talk it up in the channels there. if you feel that you can you have the thick skin to be able to put it up on official forums, go put it up there. And by all means, because I know at least on the official forums, even though we keep saying, we've heard often people say that Blizzard isn't listening. Blizzard is listening. We know that, and especially they're listening more now than ever because they're really kind of doubling down. But let's get into the outro here, and I want for you guys to be able to tell our listeners where they can find you. So first of all, Aiden, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can find me on Twitch on AidenCX, and I guess on Twitter too. It's UN Aiden. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Oh no, thanks for being here. Stoopzz, quickly, where can people find you?
Stoopzz_TV at everything, on everything, and I wish I had Stoopzz, but I don't know who has that. Thank you guys for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I wish there was infinite time. Obviously, we're all passionate about it, but yeah, I wish there was infinite time to talk about all this stuff. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It was really good. Thanks.
Our pleasure. Drown, where can people find you, bud?
Yeah, people can find me on Twitter or YouTube. Just type in Drownlord and you will find me.
Awesome. Doomsen, where can people find you?
On Twitch under Doomsen, Twitter/YouTube would be Doomsen. Wow.
Awesome. And last but not least, Anboni.
Yeah, people can find me in King's Rest every day.
Yep.
You live there?
But I actually live in King's Rest 5 per week per day minimum. But no, you can just Google Anboni WoW and everything, Twitch, YouTube, all that.
Awesome. Love it.
Yes, thanks for having me. It was nice
Guys,
talking to you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
all
these
for
are all
being
very
here.
nice. Yeah.
And
I really hope Blizzard listens. I hope they take everything we say with the understanding that we just want to make this game better. You know, we love this game. We've been playing it for a very long time. We just want it to be better.
They could ask us. Why don't they ask people?
And hopefully from the interviews that we've been seeing, they are. So
Yes.
we want to thank all you guys so much for coming out. It's been an absolute joy and absolute pleasure chatting with you all. Hopefully, as Shadowlands progresses, hopefully more of us will get alpha and we'll be able to get in there and get our hands on it, and we'll be able to let everybody know how it's going, and hopefully it will be going in the right direction.
indeed. And hopefully we'll actually start seeing some PvP changes sooner than later. Just
Looks
saying.
good so far.
Yeah, hopefully.
Looks good,
Yeah,
man.
it's
It's getting there.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
got
I
vendors.
want to test it.
Demon Hunter is getting Mortal Strike, looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking solid right now, baby.
no.
Let's go. Take Mandarin out of the game, though. I don't want that.
Bye.
I'm kind of tempted to main Demon Hunter now. not gonna lie.
Might be
Nobody likes
bad.
Demon
who knows?
Hunter.
No
You'll
one-
probably
no
enjoy
one-
it. That's the bad part.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Shame on you.
Actually, a lot of fun.
It's fun to play.
I'll enjoy it while playing, and then I'll cry in the shower later. It's okay.
Exactly.
Uh,
What have I
please
become?
All right.
All
All right, guys.
Well,
Yes.
go ahead, Garrison, take it away.
Well, I'd say I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to say, if you guys want, you can visit the Warcraft Radio website to find us and any of the or all of the other great shows over at warcraftradio.com. And you can also contact us directly at technically_PvP or by email at technicallypvp@gmail.com. And Winstead.
You can also join our discussion over at Warcraft Radio Discord. Links will be available in the show notes. Again, thank all of our wonderful guests. If you can, please go support them in what they're doing because they are awesome. So, have a good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Okay, now what?